home to the fastest road in America, the largest state capitol building in the nation, and a landmass bigger than any European country. Texas doesn't just do things big, it does them legendary. And the history? It's just as massive. From ancient civilizations to Spanish conquistadors, from a bloody revolution to becoming its own country, and from the Civil War to modern-day powerhouse, Texas has lived more lives than most nations. Let's dive into how the Lone Star State became what it is today. Ancient Texas. Our story begins around 9200 BC. Paleo-Indians were the first to call this vast territory home, hunting mammoths and giant bison across the plains. By the time Europeans showed up, Texas was thriving, home to 6 major indigenous cultural groups including the Caddo, Apache, and Comanche. These weren't scattered tribes. These were sophisticated societies with trade networks, agriculture, and complex social structures. And when European explorers arrived, the fate of these newcomers would depend entirely on how the locals responded. Spanish exploration, the disaster expedition. In 1519, Spanish explorer Alonso Alvarez de Pineda became the first European to map the Texas Gulf Coast. But the real drama started 9 years later. Panfilo de Narvaez leads an expedition of 600 men. The goal? Explore and conquer the North American interior. What could go wrong? Everything. Hurricanes battered the fleet, 2 ships sank, hundreds drowned. The survivors aimed for Mexico, but got blown off course to Florida instead. Narvaez made a fatal decision, split the force. 300 men marched inland while the ships searched for a harbor to meet them. They never found it. Indigenous attacks, starvation, disease. The 300 died by the dozens. Within months, only 90 remained. Those survivors, swept onto Galveston Island, captured by natives, enslaved, starved, frozen. 8 years later, 90 became 4. Only 4 men survived: Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca, Andrés Dorantes de Carranza, his enslaved companion Estevanico, and Alonso del Castillo Maldonado. For 8 years, these men walked across what's now the American Southwest. Thousands of miles on foot, living among indigenous peoples, learning their languages, barely surviving. When they finally reached Mexico City in 1536, they'd become legends. But Spain? They learned nothing. No settlements followed. The French mistake. While Spain dragged its feet, France made a move, completely by accident. French explorer Robert Cavelier de La Salle sailed down the Mississippi River, claiming the entire Mississippi Valley for France. King Louis XIV loved the idea. Build a colony at the mouth of the Mississippi, block the Spanish, convert the natives. Perfect plan. Except La Salle's navigation was terrible. He missed the Mississippi entirely and landed 400 miles west on the Texas coast in 1685, establishing Fort St. Louis. The colony was doomed from day one: Karankawa attacks, disease, starvation, internal conflict. 3 years later, La Salle was murdered by his own men, and the colony collapsed. Spain heard about the French intrusion and sent forces to remove this thorn thrust into the heart of America. But when they arrived, the Karankawa had already done the job for them. Spanish Texas. Realizing they'd better claim Texas before someone else did, Spain finally got serious. Alonso de Leon established the first Spanish mission in East Texas. But Spain's relationship with Texas was complicated. They'd show up, build missions, get attacked by Comanche or Apache, abandon everything, then come back decades later. It was until the early 1700s, when a Franciscan missionary tried getting French help for Texas missions, that Spain panicked and permanently reoccupied the territory. By 1762, after the 7 Years' War, France gave up all claims to Texas. Spain finally had it, but not for long. Mexican independence and rising tensions. Mexico wins independence from Spain and Texas becomes Mexican territory. Mexico's strategy? Throw open the immigration doors. Bring in settlers to help defend against hostile indigenous nations. American settlers flooded in, but they brought their own culture, their own language, and their own ideas about governance. By the 1830s, tensions exploded. Mexico tried tightening control. Texans, many of them American immigrants, wanted autonomy. In 1836, Texas declared independence. Mexico's response? Absolutely not. The Texas Revolution, March 6, 1836, the Alamo. Mexican General Santa Anna's army of thousands surrounded a small Texan garrison of roughly 200 men defending an old Spanish mission in San Antonio. The Texans, including legends like Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, fought for 13 days. Every single defender died, but the massacre backfired. "Remember the Alamo!" became a rallying cry that ignited Texan fury. 6 weeks later, Sam Houston led a surprise attack at San Jacinto. In just 18 minutes, Texan forces crushed Santa Anna's army, captured the general himself, and secured independence. The Republic of Texas was born. Republic to statehood. For 9 years, Texas was its own country, with its own president, currency, and diplomacy. But independence was expensive. Texas was drowning in debt. So they asked the United States, "Can we join?" President Andrew Jackson said no. So did Martin Van Buren. Then Britain started courting Texas, offering trade deals and recognition. That got America's attention. In 1845, the U.S. Congress finally approved annexation. Texas became the 28th state. Mexico was furious. Tensions over the Texas border ignited the Mexican-American War. By 1848, Mexico had lost, and the U.S. gained not just Texas, but California, Nevada, Utah, and more. Texas had originally claimed parts of modern-day Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. But with the Compromise of 1850, Texas sold those claims to the federal government for $10 million to pay off its debts. Civil War. Texas leaves again. Just 16 years after begging to join the United States, Texas voted to leave. The Texas troubles of 1860 sparked panic. Rumors of enslaved people starting fires led to lynchings and mass hysteria. Abolitionist sentiment in the North infuriated Texans who relied on enslaved labor. In 1861, Texans voted 76% in favor of secession. Texas joined the Confederate States of America. During the war, Union supporters in Texas faced brutal consequences, especially Germans and Mexicans in places like Cook County, where over 40 suspected Unionists were hanged in what became known as the Great Hanging. The war ended with the Emancipation Proclamation, but Texas didn't get the news until June 19, 1865, Juneteenth. Even then, violence continued. Confederate veterans attacked freed slaves and Unionists for years. Reconstruction and beyond. On March 30, 1870, Texas officially rejoined the United States. But Reconstruction was brutal. Racial violence, political upheaval. The once powerful Black Republican Party lost ground to white Democrats who enacted Jim Crow laws. These struggles stretched well into the 20th century. Texas endured hurricanes, droughts, oil booms, the JFK assassination, and ongoing fights for civil rights. But through it all, Texas kept growing, bigger, bolder, and more Texan than ever. From Paleo-Indian hunters to Spanish missions, from its own republic to Confederate rebel, from Reconstruction struggles to modern-day giant, Texas has been conquered, claimed, independent, defeated, and reborn. And that's the story of how the Lone Star State became a legend.